Hello, and welcome to this edition of the MeetYourAngels.com podcast. My name is Paul Gordon, and I'm your host. And tonight I'd like to talk to you about individual responsibilities. Now, this might be hard for some of you, or even myself, to accept, but it's very easy, or we tend to get into the mind frame. It's like, oh, well, someone else will do that. It's someone else's job. And we don't take responsibility for what it is we're supposed to do. Now, we're all connected. We're all one. We're kind of like in a network of, think of a beehive. All the bees work together to support the community that it lives with. And in each of our lives, we have different units that we live in. So you have your family unit, you have your work unit, etc. You have friends and your community. And I think it's extremely easy to push off responsibility to other people. And so, as you know, I'm out here in the desert now in California. And I'm living with some people, and it reminds me very much of being in the monastery years ago. And basically, my time in the monastery, what I learned is, even in the monastery, people are human. So we're out here, I'm living with humans, and we're all different. If we were all the same, we'd know each other's jokes. We really don't want to be the same. So try not to judge people because they're different. I actually like to celebrate diversity and to learn from that diversity, because I think I have a lot to learn, and I think everyone else does too. So let's learn from one another. So recently, the lessons that I've learned living in this new situation with these new friends, new people, is, for one thing, there's so much negativity in the world. I was in town with one of the people from here, and we were at a flea, like a swap meet, and these people were arguing, and I'm like, wow. I guess there's negativity everywhere you go. And it's really, really, really sad. And like in the news, we just recently had the shooting, at the university. And through that tragedy, what's really good is it's brought people together, and it's really helped us to open our eyes so that we could value our lives and just see that life truly is short, and that if we see an injustice being done, if we think that perhaps someone needs help, we need to step forward and we need to get that person help. That probably could have been avoided. Anyway, so I don't want to dwell on that. But question is, people ask me constantly, it's like, well, how do I know what God wants? How do I know what I'm supposed to do? What's my life purpose? I've talked about this in the past. There are what I call 3 types of intuition. The first is your gut instinct. It speaks up once in a while. The second is the voice of your heart. Your heart speaks up once in a while. And other times, your head, the logical side of you, will speak up. And it's important to pay attention to these different voices. I call them voices. Intuitions. If you think about it, they do sound different. So the voice of your head sounds different than the voice of your heart. It feels different. The voice of your head sounds different than the voice of your gut. And these are ways to become intimate with yourself. But I believe this is where your angels guide you. They speak to you. And you really, really need to pay attention. And then it's through that listening that you're going to get to know yourself, who you are at the core of your inner being. Now, I believe that actions speak louder than words. You've heard this before. You've also heard you are what you eat. Well, if your inner core, if you have certain values like love, you value honesty, generosity, etc. If you hold those inner core values, but your actions are other than loving, other than honest, other than generous, etc., then there's a disconnect. And it's hypocritical. So it's by coming close and intimate with your inner core, that's where you're going to find out what your responsibilities are. Something that I'm hearing for myself, but also it's becoming aware for me around me, and what I really think is important for the world, for each and every one of us to open our eyes to, is our inner responsibility. Well, not only inner responsibility, but to hold as a value to be stewards of the earth, to protect the planet. I have seen so much very recently. My eyes have been open. It's probably always been there, but the pollution, the hazardous waste, we all need to be recycling. We need to be doing our part to protect the planet because it is also part of us. We're all part of this energy grid, and as we pollute the environment, as we just neglect this very place that we live in, it's so irresponsible and it is immoral. So take a look at that. Now I have a story about this, and it goes back to, I was raised Catholic, and I remember when I first went to confession as a child, and actually a lot, growing up, I would go in there and I wasn't sure what to confess. And I literally would make up sins. I'd lie in the confessional because I wasn't even sure what I was supposed to say. So I stopped going for quite a while because it was difficult for me. Like, why am I lying in the confessional? And so when I was in college, after probably 5 years of not going, maybe even 10 years, no, it was 5 years. I went to confession one night. I went to a Catholic university, and they had a penance service. It was really, really good. And I didn't want to go to confession because I wasn't sure what I was going to say. So what did happen is I went and I told the priest that I love God and that I want to do the right thing, and that I'm sorry for any selfishness and for my part in any wrongdoing. But it was difficult for me to list things because in general I think I'm a good person, and it was just where I was at. This is what I told the priest. And so the penance he gave me was something that has stuck with me forever. I mean, ever since that day. And he says, I want you to do something that you normally wouldn't do if you hadn't come to confession tonight. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? He says, you'll know when you get there. So I was walking home from the chapel to my dorm room, and I saw this trash. Now normally I'd walk right by the trash and I'd say, oh, someone else will pick it up. Someone else's problem. Just subconsciously I would do that. But I actually heard that thought, oh, someone else will pick it up. Normally I'd walk right by it. And this is what the priest is talking about. And so I picked up the trash and I threw it away. But then when I thought about it, and I really, what's the lesson to be learned here? Is when I said someone else will worry about it. Someone else will pick it up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Paul, you have this better than complex. Like, well, someone else will pick it up beneath me. Wow. I mean, I really felt terrible because I wasn't even aware that I had these attitudes towards other people, that I was somehow better than someone else. I'm not. No one is better than anyone else. We are all equal. We are all loved equally in the eyes of God. We all have the equal responsibility to do the right thing. So to this day, if I walk by trash and if I see it, and I'm conscious of, oh, there's trash on the floor, I have to pick it up, or else I feel like, oh my gosh, like, there's Paul trying to be better. No, I can't do that, okay? None of us can do that. And you really can't be held responsible if you don't know what's wrong. But if you're listening to this now, I'm telling you, we must be stewards of the planet. We must take care of this very earth that we are living on. And our eyes might not be open yet to exactly what we're doing. And that's just one example. So maybe your homework is to try that penance that was given to me way back in college. And the penance is to do something tonight or tomorrow that you normally wouldn't do. So like maybe normally you wouldn't take out the trash. Maybe you'd make your husband do it. Or maybe you normally wouldn't say hi to this guy down the hall at work because he's kind of a grump. But maybe you should say hi. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but do something different and then learn what the lesson is. Catch yourself and say, oh, wow, I just walked my trash. And literally, from that very day I went back to confession with that penance, I learned a lesson about myself that I value so much. But even now, this is probably 20 years later, this thing about ecology, and I mean, it's funny, I just said the word ecology. When I was in grade school, I was commissioner of safety and ecology in 7th and 8th grade. And so I guess I had roots in it many, many years ago. But here I am, I'm 40 years old, so now you know how old I am. And I'm still learning about how important the environment is. Recycling, whatever it is, making sure your car's tuned up properly. I'd love to hear what you've learned by trying this experiment of doing something different that you normally wouldn't do. Call me. My phone number is on the website. The website is meetyourangels.com. Or you can email me at paul@meetyourangels.com. And I'd love to post your comments, or if you leave a message on the phone, I can post it on a podcast. I'd love to hear what new things you've discovered about yourself, attitudes that you have towards other people, feelings you have towards yourself, and maybe new discoveries of who you are at your inner core. It's important. Become intimate with yourself, because that's how you're going to know what it is you want out of life. That's how you're going to know what your life purpose is. So go for it. Let's have fun. Let's learn together. Let's be strong together. Let's support one another. Let's love one another. We really need love. We really, really need to take care of one another. Don't let that's someone else's job to love. Someone else's job to care. BS. No. It's your job. It's my job. Together we must do it. Okay? So give me a call. Check out the website at meetyourangel.com, and we'll talk to you another day.